Occasionally, you'll run into situations where you cannot access a child object through dot syntax. This becomes more common as you work with ActionScript classes and object-oriented programming, which we'll look at later on. In order to keep your code from breaking, you should always be prepared for those situations. So on the stage, I have border_MC. Let's go to the first keyframe of the Actions layer and open up the Actions panel. Now, of course, we can access this object directly by typing border_MC. We also looked at storing the border in a variable. Another option is to use a method called getChildByName. So we'll type var space and then a border, data type it to a movie clip, and we'll set it equal to getChildByName, and in parentheses, type some quotes, and then type border_MC. When you use getChildByName, you got to make sure you're using a string, which is going to be in quotes and green. So we're referencing the object by its name. Now, if you test the movie, you might see an error because Flash is trying to convert the object that comes from getChildByName into a movie clip, and it's having trouble. So if you look in the compiler errors window, you'll see an error, and if you read into it, it basically says Flash is trying to treat a display object as a movie clip and something is going wrong. So let's go back to our code and see what we can do. You might remember earlier when we had to typecast an object as another type of object so that we didn't have an error. That's the same thing we have to do here. Right before getChildByName, we're going to tell Flash to treat this data as a movie clip because child objects by default come in as display objects. So when you run this method, Flash is going to give you what it thinks is a display object. So you want to tell Flash to treat that display object as a movie clip. So type movie clip, capital M, capital C, and then wrap the getChildByName and all the parentheses inside of another set of parentheses. So you should have two close parentheses at the end. So now if I test the movie, I shouldn't receive any errors. And so now if I want to manipulate the border, I can do that through that border property I just created. So border.x equals 0. I'll test the movie, and it works just fine. Most of the time when you're working in Flash, you won't need to use this method. So you'll be okay just by typing border_MC. However, when you get into more advanced ActionScript and you start using external files, it will become a necessity to use this technique to access your objects. So using the getChildByName method, you can access child objects using an object's instance name without having to worry whether Flash created custom variables behind the scenes.